Did Atriox abandon the Banished in Halo Infinite? And if he did, why would he do that? This is a question that I've been pondering for a while now, and every time I think of the reasons why, I always go back to this one singular point. Why would Atriox abandon the faction, or I guess the family that he could call it, that he's worked so damn hard to build? He was treated like a worthless brute by the Covenant, and their hierarchs as well, and basically Atriox defied all of the odds when surviving multiple suicidal missions that he shouldn't have really come out on the back of. I wanted to dedicate a video to this topic because I feel as though that this is one of those things in the story that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense when thinking about it. And 343 really needs to be careful with where they go with this, and with Joe Staten writing DLC, I think he's got a challenge in his hands here. But anyway guys, let's dive straight into the video. So when I say Atriox risked it all to form the Banished, what do I mean by that? Well, without going into too much detail around the lore of Atriox and how the Banished were formed, Atriox was originally a part of the Covenant and was brought up and trained by Escharum, the antagonist within Halo Infinite. As Atriox got into an age where he could fight and join the Covenant army, he joined one of the armies and was sent on a series of extremely suicidal missions where the survival rate was probably less than 1% each time. Though every mission that he was sent on, every mission Atriox would come back and defy the odds, sometimes being the only one alive out of the entirety of the team that was sent on that mission. After multiple times, Atriox began to see what the Prophets were doing here. They were just unnecessarily sending their armies into battle, which were not really doing the Covenant any justice or didn't mean a whole bunch, and it was just being done to try and cause overall destruction and just take as many lives unnecessarily as they possibly could. This would cause many of Atriox's partners and close brothers in the battlefield to be killed in these wars, which caused Atriox to grow a massive resentment against the Covenant, the Hierarchs and the Prophets that were leading them into these battles. Now the Hierarchs of the Covenant, after one of these suicidal missions that Atriox essentially defied the odds and returned from, gained wind of Atriox's resentment or growing resentment towards them, and essentially they sent him out on another mission where there was pretty much absolute certainty that he would not return from. But in the event that he did or survived, they ordered the Sangheli leaders going with him on this mission to essentially find a reason to have him executed after the mission, because they were scared and worried that exactly what happened would happen. Atriox would defy the odds, come back and form his own army to go against the Covenant, and essentially just ruin the Prophet's plans in general. Now, throughout this suicidal mission that they were sent on, the elite superiors were keeping a very close eye on Atriox, with one of the Drow in particular being very wary and not necessarily agreeing with Atriox throughout this journey. When the battle was finally over, Atriox came into contact with a singular member of the UNSC, a Marine that was very badly injured from the battle. Atriox told the Marine to just get up and run. This Marine limped and stumbled as he was trying to escape from the brute, but whilst Atriox was following lazily behind, wielding his hammer in his right hand. As Atriox got closer to this Marine, he began to scream out loud his frustration and hatred towards the Covenant and their constant lies, for sending him and his brothers into battle for just no real reason and risking their lives for no apparent cause, having bloodshed when it wasn't required, solely because of their personal desires and vendettas towards humanity. Atriox catches up with the human and grabs him by the throat and strikes him with his hammer, killing the Marine. A member of his crew who was very close and loyal to the Hierarchs overheard this blasphemy from Atriox as he was screaming out loud. Now, Atriox did not want to fight a fellow Drow as he thought that the Covenant were the real people behind all of these lies, not his own kind. But this Drow was having none of it, and Atriox essentially challenged him to a battle there and then. The Drow struck Atriox with a large blow to the side, but in the end, Atriox ended his life with ease. As Atriox returned back to the base, he was met by a group of Sangheli and their commander. The killing of one of his brothers was used as the reason for his execution at the time. Atriox then dropped to his knees and unapologetically told the Sangheli warriors of why he did what he did. As the blood blade was swiped towards his face by the Sangheli warrior, Atriox caught it with his right hand and asked those present to watch what happened next. Killing the leader, in front of his Sangheli crew. The Jiralhanae surrounded watched Atriox slay the Sangheli leader, and whilst the other Sangheli soldiers attempted to slay Atriox, a Jiralhanae named Decimus leapt into action and began fighting against the Sangheli. All the brutes around them also leapt into action and helped defend Atriox as well until they were all dead. Atriox and his Jiralhanae brothers returned to High Charity and essentially began recruiting and preaching the lies of the Covenant, slaying anyone in his way and stealing a large amount of hardware, weaponry and vehicles, forming their own army called the Banished. As you've heard from that very brief lore cap, Atriox essentially risked it all for this army. This army wasn't created or formed just to get back at the Covenant, but it's an army allowing anyone from any species, including humans, to join if they follow the same path as Atriox, and of course if he feels they're a good fit. And Atriox wants to prove that this army can take over the universe and be as powerful, if not more powerful, than the Covenant and UNSC. And what better way to start than to gain access and take over a Halo ring? So of course this leads many questions, but the first one being, why would Atriox want to abandon the Banished on the back of hearing his background and lore and why they were formed? He's worked extremely hard for this army. His homeworld has been destroyed by Cortana as we'd seen throughout the campaign, so what else does he really have other than the Banished? So this leads me on to my first question. Why was Atriox absent throughout the entirety of the story of Halo Infinite, and only shown at the end if he's still alive? Well, there could be a few reasons for this. In particular, off the top of my head, he could have just simply been somewhere on the ring where the Banished were not. But again, you got to think about it. That's for a 6-month long period. That's a very long time to just not see anyone from the Banished. The second one is that he could have been stuck in a time lock throughout the campaign. But then a contradicting factor to that would be that Cortana destroyed the Silent Auditorium with Atriox in there. So how could he be in a time lock? Do you know what I mean? It doesn't really make much sense. Unless there's a protocol within the Silent Auditorium or the domain that's running through that essentially supports the Silent Auditorium, whereby anything inside will be time locked or teleported away in the event of it exploding or being destroyed. That would probably be the thing that makes the most sense to me. But again, where would they be teleported to? Could it be the containment facility where the Endless was? I don't know. We'd have to see what happens, but that's the only part that would make sense to me, is that there'd be a protocol within the Silent Auditorium that teleports whatever's inside away in the event of it being destroyed. And potentially that teleportation place or destination could be the containment facility where the Endless are buried, which explains why Atriox found them at the end. Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of gaps in this story. What I don't get is the why Atriox would stay hidden for this 6-month plus long period. I just don't really get that. Why would he want the Banished to think that he's dead? If he was somewhere throughout the campaign, why would he not tell Escharum that he's still alive, or even the Harbinger? How would she not know? And if the Harbinger did know and was talking to Atriox, then why would she go along with the story that he was dead? And do you know what I mean? It does not make sense. So I don't think the Harbinger was speaking to Atriox, because for me that would not make any sense. And I think that the Harbinger was speaking to potentially one of the Proto-Grave Minds. I think she might have been speaking to maybe the Endless leaders or something like that. Or even Mendicant Bias, we just don't know. But guys, let me know down below in the comments what you think about this, as I really don't have a massive idea as to what happens here. But I'm very interested to see where 343 take this story next, and as mentioned with Joe Staten writing the DLC going forward and taking on the creative narrative role of Halo Infinite, I think you may have to think up some magic to see how Atriox 1 survived the destruction of the Silent Auditorium, and 2 where he was for the whole game and why he's not made himself known if he's just wandering around the ring. My Silent Auditorium theory does make sense in a way, but it's just one understanding how the ring was destroyed from that point on and what happened after that. But guys, leave a like if you did enjoy today's video. Let me know your thoughts and theories down below, and how crazy they might be. Just let me know. I do really enjoy reading through these, and I'm excited to see where DLC brings for us here as well. But yeah, subscribe when you guys are brand new, and we'll speak to you all in the next one.